What's up, you certified beauties? It's Nick here, back with another video, and today we're going to talk about some CERB drama. Yes, some Canada Emergency Response Benefit drama is being unpacked as we speak, and there's been an issue with the CERB. If you remember, that was the original response benefit that came out back in March. There's been an issue with the CERB and some wording regarding who is eligible, and this is impacting self-employed people who made an income of $5,000 gross, but did not meet the $5,000 income threshold if it was net income. So to be short, what was going on was the wording on the CRA website wasn't really clear, and some people were thinking it was gross, some people were thinking net. CRA has come back to say this was net income, not gross, and therefore for some of these people, they are now ineligible for the CERB and they need to repay that money back. So this is kind of where it gets interesting. There's been a lot of miscommunication and even some phone calls with the CRAs, and the CRA agents never said it was net. They actually said it was gross. I heard a couple audios, people recorded their talks with the CRA agents who actually said it was gross income and not net. So a lot of misunderstanding there. And again, we've talked about the CERB, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, being taxable. And I've made videos before about repaying your CERB back to the CRA by the end of December if you weren't eligible, because what's going to happen if you don't, you're still going to receive a T4A slip indicating how much money you received in CERB benefit or CRB benefit income for the year 2020. As a result, you're going to have to report that T4A on your tax return, and these benefits are taxable. So whether or not you were eligible and you need to repay it, what's going to happen now is you're going to get taxed on this income for 2020, and then it's going to be messy for 2021 when you actually repay it, because you've already reported it on your tax return, you've already paid tax, and so on and so forth. So you definitely don't want to be in that situation. And right now we're looking at a lot of people actually falling in this category due to some technicalities on the wording, unfortunately. And some notices came out. I know we're in a second wave and the timing is poor, but some notices came out at the beginning of December telling some of these self-employed people, hey, you didn't actually qualify for the CERB because you didn't meet this $5,000 income threshold. You need to repay this money back and try to do it by the end of December so you don't actually get taxed on it. And so some of these people claimed the full CERB amounts, which is $14,000. And so now they're looking at, hey, you got to repay $14,000 in a month. A lot of these people can't afford that, especially, if they needed CERB in the first place. Like, where are they going to come up with this money? So there was an article here from CTV, and we're going to just walk through it. I'll give you my 2 cents on this article as, I guess, one of the few people on YouTube that talk about CERB. I'm also an accountant, so I can kind of give you my insight here as well. But let's take a look here. Some Canadians who applied for the CERB are being asked to repay the entire sum by December 31st because of one word that was never mentioned in the original application, and unclear communication that recipients say is confusing and unfair. Here's a quote: "They changed the rules without telling anyone anything." Okay, this is from someone who is a self-employed contractor from BC who, now has to all of a sudden pay her $14,000 back. I don't think they changed the rules. It was just now they're being a little bit more clear on what the rules were. Whereas at the beginning of, when CERB first came out, they didn't have very clear communication, but the rules never changed. They just had really poor wording on their website. All right. We don't just have it sitting here under a mattress. Of course not, because she's like, who does? Self-employed Canadians were eligible for CERB as long as they made more than $5,000 in 2019 or within the 12 months before they applied. This is true. However, in recent letters sent out last week, they've been requesting payments. The CRA defines self-employment income as net self-employment income of at least $5,000. This again is true, but again, the wording was inaccurate. Some CERB applicants interpreted self-employment income as their gross income and not net income. And they say the CRA did not make that clear, and I agree. CRA denies changing the rules, of course. The agency told CTV News that it considers self-employment income as the net pre-tax income, gross income minus expenses. This is true. Gross income, another word that you might hear kind of synonymous with gross income as a small business owner, is your revenue. So, how much revenue are you bringing in? It doesn't really matter. They're more so looking at, your net income or your gross income minus your expenses, because, for instance, I could be a small business owner and I could make $10,000 in revenue, but my costs of goods sold are also $10,000 or even more. Like I could have $1 million in sales, but I'm selling a product that also costed me $1 million. So like I didn't actually make anything. And so like they want people to have $5,000 net. So like these people are actually in the profitable side of business, because they're looking to try to help people that, have been making a consistent amount of money. Whereas $5,000 gross versus net, if you're making $5,000 gross, it's a very small amount if you think about it over the course of a full year. But yeah, this is just the unfortunate part of the CRA. They kind of dropped the ball here, and let's see what they say. Continue. This is consistent with how self-employment income is calculated when dealing with the CRA. To be clear, there has been no change to the position during the life cycle of the CERB. Very true. They just sound a little bit cold right now, and they're probably honestly just tired and fed up with everything, but they did a really crappy job. For Loga, that 3-letter word makes all the difference. He earned more than $10,000 gross income in 2019 from his business, which mostly involved installing satellite dishes and internet service. But once his expenses were subtracted, his net income dropped to around $2,000, well below the $5,000 threshold. Yes. Okay. So here we go again. Like this guy is living off $2,000 a year, and now he's going to get $2,000 every month from a CERB. Like, to me, when I was looking at that doesn't really make sense. I know, people need the help and all that kind of stuff, but their intention for the CERB was to help people who lost their income due to the pandemic. So, you were established in a job or in your self-employed business where if you're making under $5,000 net income, it's hard to argue like you were living off of that. You know what I mean? And the CERB was trying to come in and provide you with just enough to basically survive a month at a time. But we'll continue here. I was always worried that this would happen. This is why I kept detailed records. The term net self-employment income does not appear anywhere in those original CERB applications from March to September, nor is net income mentioned anywhere on the CRA's Who is Eligible page for CERB, which is available online. He is incorrect there, and I will show you guys in a second. So the first time the word net appeared was in a letter he received on November 26th, advising him that after reviewing his file, CRA officials could not confirm that he meets the requirements for CRB. While the letter said there was no penalty or interest for an honest mistake, it encouraged Loga to repay the CERB amounts by December 31st so that you don't have a tax slip for the amount you received. Okay, yep, that makes sense. Again, just really poor timing from the CRA with all this, just adding to the gong show that is Canada in this pandemic. So CERB is considered taxable income, and tax experts have long advised Canadians to keep that in mind while budgeting. Yeah, all you have to do is watch some of my videos. Loga said his accountant advised him to consider a lawsuit against the CRA, but that legal fees would likely cost him more than the repayment. Very true. CRA said it's sympathetic to the fact that for some people, repaying the CERB will be challenging, and it is giving Canadians more time and flexibility to repay what they owe. It's very true. They have different repayment plans and whatnot. However, in this case, the agency says letters sent out were not a mistake. CERB recipients who do not meet the criteria will need to repay the CERB payments. Okay. We'll go through a couple other people. Again, similar situations, not happy about that, obviously. Here's someone else. Jackie owns a tattoo business in St. Catharines. Nice spot out there, close to Niagara, in a similar position. She was among the first Canadians to apply for the CERB as soon as it was opened. We were the first to shut down. The money helped keep the couple afloat and put food on the table for their kids. Then last week they received a letter asking to repay the full $14,000. She said she called the CRA, spoke to an agent. That's when she learned that while her gross income seemingly allowed her to qualify for CERB, her net income wasn't enough, and her net income was what mattered. The reason is complicated. She and her husband have a litany of monthly expenses, tattoo equipment, heating, rental. On top of that, they earn a large chunk of their income from holiday gift certificates, which don't get applied as income until they are cashed in. Very true. That's another tough position for some of these people. Kratz said there's no way her family will be able to afford to repay the CERB anytime soon, especially after COVID has taken away all their customers. Yes, this is why I honestly, if you want my hot take, I completely disagree with locking down. I know they say it's for safety, but at what cost do you lock down and to try to stop the spread? We're seeing lockdowns. We've been in a full almost 2 weeks of lockdown in Toronto, and cases in Toronto still continue to rise. So like, what's going on there? Why isn't that working? At this point, you might as well reopen it. Cases are going to rise anyway, and these people can actually go back to making a living. But anyway, I digress. We'll continue. David Murray, an accountant based in Wilmot, said he's directly heard from 3 clients in the past week in the same predicament. Their gross income allowed to apply for CERB, but their net income falls below the $5,000 threshold, rendering them ineligible, according to similar letters received from the CRA. This guy, an accountant, also says it's ridiculous, to be honest. It's that one little word that's causing the whole problem that they've decided to throw in there. He advised his clients not to pay anything back to the CRA until he looks into the issue further. In the meantime, he tried reaching out to the CRA directly. He spoke with an agent this week who told him that the word net didn't appear in those initial applications regarding self-employment. The word was implied. Okay, so again, similar communications coming out from the CRA. But this accountant says you can apply anything you want, but you don't have it in writing. It's not valid. And here's a tax expert, Jamie, managing director of tax and estate planning at CIBC, said he's surprised to hear that some people were confused by the eligibility for CERB. This guy says, my understanding from day one is that it has been net income. If the goal was 5,000 income, it's not 5,000 revenue. Ooh. Okay, so that's similar to what I said at the beginning of this video, revenue again versus income. While net income doesn't appear anywhere on the application, he pointed out the term does appear online in the Q&A page. Okay, owners who rely on business income should consider their net pre-tax income, gross income minus expenses. Yes, okay. While tax experts may have noticed this wording, he said it's possible that communications from the government were not as clear as they should have been for the general public. Definitely was possible and definitely did happen, not just possible. This message here is we have to be careful when rolling out government programs, and this was rolled out extremely quickly. It's very important that the government is very clear so we don't have these unfortunate misunderstandings in terms of miscommunication. All right, so let's take a look at the CERB application real quick here. Let's pull this up here. The CERB. Okay. So on this page, who is eligible? Let's pop this up. All righty. So here we go. Point number 3. Who had employment or self-employment income of at least $5,000 in 2019 or in the 12 months prior to the date of their application. So this is the part. Yeah, they're not clear on income. Employment income, it's either, again, you consider gross income, net income, same with self-employment. Typically, again, the argument, like the CRA has said, when you're looking at employment income, the assumption is that it's your gross pay. And for self-employment income, the assumption is that it's net income. However, they don't specify. And so that was the spot there. And then if you want to scroll down, they actually have an FAQ. And so I have that over here, FAQ. And you can look at the application and all this stuff. So I'm going to roll down to eligibility. What are the eligibility requirements? And again, they reiterate here. Who had employment or self-employment income of at least $5,000? Again, it doesn't specify net or gross. So I'm looking around here and just trying to see what if you receive CERB. It's non-resident. Okay. Am I eligible to apply for the CERB if I had not declared what I earned from last year? And so it says, while having filed an income tax for 2019 is not an eligibility requirement, you will need to confirm when applying for the CERB that you had at least $5,000 in employment or self-employment income in the past 12 months prior to the date of your application. So again, it doesn't say. The income of at least $5,000 may be from employment or self-employment. Again, it's not saying net income. So I'm totally with these people who are complaining. We're going to roll down to the income requirements. Okay, what income types count towards the $5,000 in employment or self-employment income? $5,000 includes all employment or self-employment income. So that's very confusing, even for me. Includes all employment or self-employment income. So what they're trying to say here is if you're self-employed and you're also employed, it's a combination of both. Or if you have two jobs, you're employed by two employers, it's a combination of both. Or if you have a couple side hustles, it's a combination of all of that income. But yeah, again, it should be saying whether it's net or gross for your self-employment, but it doesn't say. Yeah, it just continues to go on saying what's included. And it doesn't get into the specifics. Does the minimum income of $5,000 have to be earned? It says no. Again, doesn't go into anywhere. So if you scroll down to retired persons, person with disabilities, part-time, self-employed, and independent workers. Okay, are self-employed and small business owners eligible for the CERB? And here we go. Small business owners can receive income from their business in different ways, including salary, business income, or dividends. In determining their eligibility for the CERB, owners who take a salary from their business should consider their pre-tax salary. This is the one here. Owners who rely on business income should consider their net pre-tax income, in brackets, gross income less expenses. So this is where the CRA has a little bit of a leg to stand on because it is in their FAQ. It does say here net pre-tax income, which implies your net income, not your gross income. It does say should. It doesn't say need to consider. It says should consider. So, the wording again is weak from the CRA. A lot of you guys, if you've made it to this video, to this point of the video, thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. But if you've made it to this far and you're still distraught and you fall in this category of not being able to qualify for the CERB anymore and needing to repay part of that money back, there's actually a petition going around, and I will link it in the description. And if you feel strongly that you shouldn't be at fault here and you shouldn't have to repay, they should change it to gross instead of net. We have a petition here. 185 people have already signed it, and it's just saying that what we've walked through, saying that the CERB is income of $5,000 as part of the eligibility, and no one knew if it was net or gross. So we feel that it should be gross income of $5,000 and not the net income of $5,000. And so people who applied with a gross income of $5,000 and received the CERB should not have to repay that money back to the CRA. So I'm going to link that again, and you guys can check that out if you want to sign. Feel free to go ahead and sign that petition. But yeah, this was linked to me from a couple of you guys who watch my channel. So thank you for bringing this to my attention. I know this video is getting a little bit on the long side, so I'm going to cut it here. But thanks so much for watching. I'll try to keep you guys updated as to what's going on. But I hope this video was valuable to you guys and you appreciated some of the insights that I had. I really feel for you if you were in this position and applied. I really feel for you guys, and I hope that there is an answer soon. Yeah, it's a tough situation, and we'll see what happens in the next little bit. I'm Nick from Nick's Taxes, and as always, happy taxing.